I was Batman. Never again.
What happens when our heroes, our symbols of vitality and hope, get old? It's a question lots of genre movies and TV shows have started asking. Twin Peaks, Indiana Jones, and Star Wars have all confronted this question in recent years in different ways, but today we'll be looking at a show that dove headfirst into this question years before Sam Raimi's Spider-Man kicked off the superhero movie boom, and decades before The Last Jedi's old Luke shocked the world. It was an animated show for kids, no less. On its 20th anniversary, here's everything you didn't know about Batman Beyond. Premiering in January of 1999, Batman Beyond begins in 2019. Hey, that's now. Where Bruce Wayne, now in his 50s, has a heart attack while breaking up a kidnapping, and is only able to escape after threatening to use a gun on a criminal.
No! Don't!
Guns are a big no-no for the Dark Knight and his strict vigilante ethics. So, humbled and ashamed, Bruce hangs up his cape and vows,
Never again.
The story then jumps 20 more years into the future. It's 2039, and Bruce Wayne is a cranky, lonely, bitter old recluse, hidden away in his mansion and giving off major Citizen Kane vibes. His only companion is a dog named Ace, a nod to the name of Batman's crime-fighting dog's sidekick from the 1950s comics.
Don't worry, boy. I won't ever let anyone hurt you again.
And much about Gotham has changed. The city is now called Neo-Gotham, and it's a futuristic labyrinth of technological marvels and moody aesthetics. The only thing that seems to not have changed is that the city is still chock full of dastardly criminals seeking wealth, power, and control.
My men are loading the canisters as we speak. They leave tonight on hover transport. My assistant, Mr. Fix, will personally supervise the shipment.
Against this backdrop emerges Terry McGinnis, a cocky but kind high school student equipped with freakishly natural crime-fighting skills and scores to settle on account of his father's murder in an evil corporate cover-up. A somewhat convenient chance encounter introduces Terry to Bruce Wayne. One thing leads to another, and Terry finds out Bruce was Batman. Terry steals a suit, Bruce broods and eats soup in front of an inexplicably small TV, and bam! Before you know it, Terry is the new Batman, mentored by Bruce Wayne, and taking on the people who would do Neo-Gotham harm. For much of the first season, the main villain is Derek Powers, a ruthless tycoon who's responsible for Terry's dad's death, and who doubles as the radioactive supervillain Blight, who loves his glow-in-the-dark skeleton costume so much that he can never take it off. But Batman Beyond introduces a ton of new, technologically trippy villains to the Batman universe. And it also revisits some classic villains in their own golden years, including Mr. Freeze, Bane, and Ra's al Ghul. In fact, in Batman Beyond, AARP actually stands for Arkham Asylum's Retired Psychopaths. And while the Joker is presumed dead in 2039 Neo-Gotham, his legacy lives on in the Jokers, that's with a Z, marauding gangs of Clown Prince copycats who get in Terry's way on a pretty regular basis. Fortunately, Terry has some help beyond old Bruce and his dog. Barbara Gordon, also fairly hardened and cynical, is now the police commissioner of Neo-Gotham. Side note, in Season 1, Episode 12, A Touch of Quarré, Gordon implies that she and Bruce were once romantically involved, but the commitment to Batman above all else ended it. This story was later confirmed in Season 3. Terry also has a girlfriend, Dana, which is cool, because who didn't have a significant other in high school? Am I right? And of more practical assistance is Maxine Gibson, Terry's friend from high school, who's a genius hacker and becomes a kind of cross between Alfred Pennyworth and Oracle Barbara Gordon to Terry's Batman.
This changes everything, you know.
Maybe for the better. At least now you're not alone with your secret.
So what happens in an episode of Batman Beyond? Well, it's got a theme song, and it's definitely more abstract than your standard jingle that explains the plot. That thing is like a mashup of Blade Runner, animated sequences from Hitchcock's Vertigo, and 9 Inch Nails. The name of that song was titled Smells Like Creamed Spinach and was composed by the same classical orchestral Batman the Animated Series composers. The opening sequence was designed and animated by the late great artist Darwin Cook, who did it crudely on his Macintosh computer using Adobe After Effects and a VCR. At the time, After Effects was not being used like that. Cook also served as a storyboard artist on Batman Beyond, like he did on the New Batman Adventures, Superman the Animated Series, and Justice League: The New Frontier, which was based on his own original graphic novel of the same name. Batman Beyond, of course, gives us a view into the future. And while it may not be 2039 yet, by 2019 we can already assess whether some of the show's predictions were accurate. So, for example, Batman Beyond imagines a 2039 where sleek, flying cars will be very possible and very cool. At the same time, motorcycles will still be clunky and enormous, which are no doubt the influence of the 1988 film Akira, which coincidentally also takes place in a futuristic Neo-Tokyo in, wait for it, a dystopian 2019. In 1999, you could make a pretty penny in the CD business, and disc technology is still very much alive and well in Batman Beyond's 2039. But as we all remember, Apple summarily killed off the disk drive in the 2010s. RIP disk drive. In one scene, Terry's girlfriend Dana leaves a message with her phone number on Terry's home phone number. Nothing about that sentence survived past 2007. What is a landline? I don't know, but Spectrum seems to really want me to have one. Season 2, Episode 8 features a villain who gets kids addicted to virtual reality fantasies.
There's this new VR. Gives you the realest real ever. It feels like love.
If Instagram can be considered a villain, then this one came completely true. And I love that villain. Although they aren't technologically futuristic, the Jokers themselves are eerily prescient. Gangs of cruel people who individually aren't that tough, but can be scary in large numbers, referencing and relishing the nihilism of the Joker. That sounds a lot like 2019's all too real internet trolls. Batman Beyond's Batsuit is extremely futuristic and extremely awesome. Adam West would have danced for 6 weeks straight to get his hands on the gear that comes standard for Terry McGinnis. Retractable wings, rocket-powered boots, electromagnetic adhesion, and freaking stealth mode. That's right, stealth mode. But as much as Batman Beyond dazzled by predicting the future, it was also interested in bringing Batman into the present. Sure, Batman had been beating up bad guys for more than half a century by 1999, but in Batman Beyond, he also dealt with having a single parent, the peer pressures surrounding drug use.
Don't lie to me, they're slappers, aren't they? I've seen them on the news.
And the angst of being a teen in an increasingly technology-dependent world. So while the show was marketed to kids,
all new this fall on Kids WB.
It definitely wasn't designed for, like, really small kids. Although lots probably watched anyway and were maybe traumatized. Sorry, fans now in your early 20s, but hey, maybe you got some tips on how to deal with Instagram bullies. Produced by Warner Brothers and DC Comics, Batman Beyond aired on Kids WB from January 10th, 1999 to December 18th, 2001. The show ran for 3 seasons, totaling 42 episodes. There was also an awesome animated feature film, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, as well as several tie-in episodes across other DC animated shows, including Static Shock and Justice League Unlimited.
I need you, both of you.
You know this kid? He says his name's Beyonce.
Batman Beyond was created by Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm, and Paul Dini. They oversaw a writing and directing team of DC animation stalwarts, the same people who made Static Shock, Justice League, and many animated DC movies. Although few of the creatives on Batman Beyond are known outside of animation, there have been plenty of notable guests and uncredited writers from the world of comics who contributed, including John Shirley, who wrote the screenplay for The Crow, husband and wife creators of the cult favorite comic Milk and Cheese, Evan Dorkin and Sarah Dwyer, Walt Simonson, Steve Englehart, Alex Ross, Mark Waid, and the iconic Frank Miller. Interestingly enough, the creators were initially cajoled into making a teenage Batman by execs who were worried that Batman the Animated Series wasn't appealing enough to kids. And looking back, boy were they wrong.
The words teenage Batman came out of his mouth and we all kind of went, whoa. So we were all kind of sitting there kind of stunned, as you might imagine, and he said, so do you guys have any ideas of what you could do with this? And just kind of off the top of our heads, we just started just coming up with the concept of Batman Beyond.
Eventually, they fell in love with their new futuristic story. The cast of Batman Beyond was anchored by Boy Meets World alum Will Friedle as the voice of Terry.
I think Terry kind of resonated with people as being this young, at first this young kind of hooligan, essentially, who's plucked off the streets and given this awesome responsibility. I think for some reason that always resonates. Kind of the fish out of water story always resonates.
Friedel would go on to be a mainstay of superhero animation voice acting, playing versions of Green Arrow, Star-Lord, Kid Flash, and many more. Kevin Conroy, who's voiced Batman in multiple animated series, lent his voice to Bruce Wayne. Maxine was voiced by Cree Summer. And the most famous cast member of all was Mark Hamill, as various Joker-related characters, before finally voicing the ace of names himself in the Batman Beyond movie.
You're out of your league. I know every trick the original Batman and Robin knew at their peak.
Many well-known actors with their own genre pedigree voiced an assortment of small parts too. Johnny Galecki, George Takei, John Rhys-Davies, George Lazenby, Ice-T, and Seth Green. Batman Beyond also deserves a lot of credit for putting DC on the map as an animation powerhouse. Batman Beyond wasn't DC's first animated series, of course, as there have been animated DC shows dating back to the 1960s. It was the on-ramp to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which are arguably DC's most iconic animated shows. The production and release of Batman Beyond also twice collided with real-world tragedy. The return of the Joker film was released on December 12, 2000, but DC had originally planned to release it earlier. After the Columbine Massacre in April 1999, immense scrutiny was placed on violence in media and whether it contributed to real-world violence, especially media marketed toward young people. The original cut of The Return of the Joker featured lots of explicit references to killing and lots of gun violence, so to avoid backlash, DC went back and changed some of the more objectionable material, including the Joker's death. He goes from being shot to being electrocuted, which actually is still pretty violent. The series finale of Batman Beyond was scheduled to air on September 14th, 2001. The plot of that episode dealt heavily with terrorism. After September 11th, the episode was pulled and replaced with a rerun. The finale didn't air until over 3 months later. Batman Beyond was a dark kids show, and in the end, the darkness of the world caught up with it. Was the gritty, punk, goth, dark, alienated energies of the late 90s media a premonition of the world to come? We'll never know that for sure, but what is certain is that Batman Beyond wasn't afraid to go there, to show our vulnerabilities in ways we weren't used to being shown then. It's hard to overstate, especially as an adult looking back at the show, how jarring it is to see Bruce Wayne clutching his heart in pain, needing to take medication and walk with a cane. Can we see that soup clip again? But it's not just Bruce Wayne who suffers time's decay. His enemies got old too. In Season 1, Episode 9, a nefarious steroid craze in Neo-Gotham leads Bruce to suspect that his enemy Bane is responsible. Bruce sends Terry to seek out Bane, only to discover that he's a weak, withered old man. A backbreaker no more.
What happened to him?
Too many years on Venom. That's what the stuff will do to you.
The show even plays with our desire to see Bruce return to his former glory. In Season 3, Episode 5, Talia al Ghul offers Bruce the possibility of becoming young again.
So young.
Of course, it ends up being a trap involving body snatching and digital consciousness, but before the twist is revealed, we're left staring at a very hard truth. Getting old sucks. And that's a hard thing for any movie, show, or even person to be honest about. And genre movies and TV that confront the aging hero don't always do it with such grace. Take Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Old Grey Indy is flung 1,000 feet in the air in a fridge and lives. He fights bad guys with CGI-enhanced dexterity worthy of the good old days, and the whole thing feels off. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Twin Peaks: The Return, which is so unsparingly honest to the point about what time does to us that lots of people find it hard to watch. And then there's Star Wars, with probably the biggest fandom in all of genre at war over the depiction of old Luke in The Last Jedi. Could Luke be bitter and jaded? Could he scorn the wisdom he once sought? Could he actually change? Maybe these debates are so intense and are taken so personally because they're really debates about ourselves, about our own sense of identity. Genre has heroes and we all want to be heroic in our lives. We identify so strongly with young Luke's hopefulness, with Agent Cooper's brilliance, with Indiana Jones's daring, with Bruce Wayne's unbreakable resolve. If those qualities can dim in our heroes, maybe they can fail in us too. we become aware of our own shortcomings, an awareness we look to in heroic genre stories in the first place to escape. To bring things back to Batman Beyond, and feel free if you need to get a tissue or stare in the mirror for a while, in the epilogue, episodes of Justice League Unlimited, which was the last DC animated show episode to feature the Batman Beyond characters, it's revealed that Terry McGinnis is actually Bruce Wayne's son, because Terry's father was injected with a serum containing Bruce Wayne's DNA that overrode his own genetic information so that Bruce Wayne's DNA would be passed on, and there could always be a Batman. It's a little like people insisting that Star Wars Rey has to be a Skywalker in order to matter as a character, as if bravery and heroism were foregone conclusions. But if Batman was about a man with magical, sacred DNA, no one would have ever cared. Batman is a resident and enduring hero because of his choices, because he actualizes the possibilities we know we all have living inside of us. Bruce Wayne may get old and die, but these stories we share and treasure only matter if anyone, in their own way, can be a Batman. What do you think? Did we get too deep? We got really deep. Let us know in the comments what you do to cheer up. Me? I have a whole wheat everything bagel with scallion cream cheese, and I don't brush my teeth for hours.
That's not funny.